David Dressler, and I'm running for Vice President of Legislation. And I'm currently your Vice President of Legislation that is seeking the office for the first time for a full term. Some changes that I'd like to see made is Senate tends to be a very start-stop Senate. We every year we start new projects, but we never always finish them. I want to see them being able to be carried out. I want to see a more fluid Senate across the board. Basically, things that are in place now, moving forward with next year. If we have to start and stop everything, we're never going to advance as IPSGA, as IPFW, as a student body. Another thing I'd like to do is I'd like to set a way to divide the funds. There was a question that appeared earlier, and it's something that as my pro temp of Senate has already worked on, and basically giving every opportunity for a student organization or a individual to seek funds for the full possibility that they can. So those are just a few of the things I'd like to do.
All right, DeAngelo.
Hello everyone, I'm DeAngelo, LaVette. Some of the things that I would like to do and make sure that it's changed is, it's funny, is we saw Student Government Association, you take the SGA. One, starting with S, is student orgs, making student orgs better and more efficient, where they're more able to survive on their own, because a lot of times we hear the government, but student orgs also need to know how to survive in case the government can't provide all the money, and that way student orgs are able to thrive very well. The other one will be Greek life. That's something I also work with some of the administration on currently, because that's something that a lot of students want, but it's a lot of different things where students have been getting to running around and different things like that, and we're trying to make sure that gets consolidated that way students get questions answered. And one of the things is also having the Senate tape and archive, that way people can see it and make sure there's a full Senate and more accountability to the students when people are receiving the funds from IPSGA, that they're held more accountable to the student body and which their money comes from.
Hi, my name is Joe Magistri. I'm running for Student Body Vice President of Legislation. I'm currently a student senator representing the Colleges of Arts and Sciences. I have been on Senate the past year, and I've learned a lot about this remarkable institution. In my studies of political science, have grown a fondness of legislatures and legislation, the legislative process. My goals as Vice President of Legislation will be to increase the size of the Senate. Currently there are about 15 members, which is 0.001% of the student body. That's just a little too low. We have the capacity to be at 55 members, or somewhere around there. I'm not sure on the top of my head of that number. Secondly, I'd like to increase the changes in the rules that I've already done in my time as a senator to make the process more open and fair for everyone, so that we all have an equal opportunity to receive the funds that are available through student government.
I moved here from Maryland to come to IPFW, and I've been on campus now for a little over 3 years, and really the only thing I've seen change is my tuition, and it's gone up. Can you tell me what some of the specific changes that you would like to see here at the university, and more so focused on the student body here at IPFW? Thanks.
I'd like to see student government do more. I mean, I don't want SAB to be the sole outreach body for student government. I think the Student Senate can play a role, or the executive branch, or whoever. I mean, I want to see more from student government to be more active in a student's life, to provide them with more opportunities, more events, more activities, to get them more involved, because that's, I think, one of the primary roles of student government. So yeah.
Well, the position with VPL, working with the student body, oftentimes the VPL really focuses on the Senate and spearheads the Senate mainly. So a lot of the things that I do for the student body is actually outside the Senate. And some of the things that I worked on is the student discount list for the faculty and the Senate. So if you actually go on the website, you have a complete listing from A to Z to every service that offers you discounts in the entire city, from fast food restaurants to the mall to everything, and that's something that I'm employed to actually do work on the student. I also work on the university planner, which you all receive, which is going on the major renovations, and I'm the person who actually is in charge of that on behalf of the student body, where I sit in with publications, how it's going to be formatted different, make it more beneficial to the student body, have to sit in with forms. So there's a lot of things that I do outside of student government that will help with the student body.
To more directly answer your question, while we may not actually be able to lower tuition, when I started as a freshman, I thought it was like a locked-in rate. You just, when you started, is what the price you got until you graduated. Unfortunately, I learned that obviously when my loans need to be increased. While we may not be able to actually, decrease the amount of tuition, the current administration that I currently serve on has worked very close with the library to get ebooks, and then therefore providing students the opportunity to basically rent the book for free, in other words. So then if you could cut a couple $100s off a semester, that will compensate for the increase in tuition that is kind of not necessarily out of our hands that we can't control, but basically do something with. And I think that will help out a lot that we've been currently working on.
All right. Question in the front?
Do you know how many students actually rented their books through ebooks? And, like the percentage of how many switched to ebooks instead of just buying hard copies? Because in my opinion, I like a hard copy book just to like sit down in front of a book. I mean, I don't know. So I just want to know if that is the way to go to save students money, in your opinion.
That's what everybody.
And that could apply to
Sure.
you guys if you want to, like, changes that you can make.
Yeah,
for
if
the
you guys,
videos.
if anyone wants to answer the question, it's cool.
Yeah.
I actually do not know the specific numbers. Terrell Lynn, the student body president, he would probably be able to give you a little more direct answer to that. But I know that they've been tossed around the idea of taking and putting in hard copy books too. So that is a possibility that IPSGA could pursue. Within that, all that details are still being worked out with the library and different people within that organization there. But I think it's a good direction to start taking, even though, yes, I agree with you. I would love to have that tangible copy of a book. And basically, it's a way to move forward, hopefully, and try to provide basically something that hasn't been offered before. Basically, so IPFW can lead the way and kind of do things that other colleges haven't thought of and haven't done yet. But we can provide those for you.
So does the student body government have the power to like talk to the university and actually lower the cost of books, or?
Books not directly because it's a private contract through colleges.
But you can like get the university for ebooks or something like that. Like that's something the government did for the student body. Okay.
The issue concerning ebooks, what I see, one, it's already been handled with document delivery service, so you already have that available. If you're finding the book out there, you put in the author of the document delivery service free of charge to students, so that system was already in motion besides ebook. Two, you won't actually have an ebook available to everyone. That's one of the fatal flaws in the ebook system, is because it's bad business if you just think about it. We subcontract the company to sell books, what brings in major revenue for the university, and you're saying let's provide all these books for students for free. University's not going to allow that. So if you do even have 1 or 2 ebooks and you're thinking about thousands of students that need them, you're looking at probably 2 hours a week or something that you can actually get this book. So yeah, it's there for you, it's accessible, but it's not going to be like a book that you can just take with you for the entire semester, because it will be just bad business for the university.
The question is about making cheaper goods available by student government. Is that correct?
Yeah, like, what are you guys going to do with ebooks if they don't want to get ebooks, right?
Yeah, I mean, because from what I gather, I mean, personally, I would rather have a hard copy book, and everyone that I saw, I mean, granted, I didn't see a lot, but everyone that I saw, when the book, when the people working in the bookstore asked if you want to, you could get this on ebooks, everyone was just like, no, I'm just going to buy this book. So I don't know, is ebooks the right way to go, or
I don't think
anything like
ebooks
that?
are the right way to go. I don't know. They're not free, so we have to be clear of that. We still have to pay, but it would be at a reduced cost, but it's still not available to every student. Secondly, I do love the hard copy, and I take a lot of classes where my professors like to assign articles that are on Reserves Express, and so I was really hit hard this year when the printing quota came around, and so I don't know, that'd be something to look into. I'm not really sure on the viability of it, but we'd have to look more, because the books are more of a bookstore issue that student government isn't really involved in. So.
Sorry.
I was in Senate off and on for the past 4 years, and I noticed that in Senate, a lot of times, sometimes the VPL doesn't take a very proactive role in maintaining the Senate and making sure that senators, look at each bill well. Sometimes people just vote on something, they don't even really consider it, and then another one, they'll doggedly ask a person 20 questions and be really kind of rude about them asking for money, whereas they ignore the other person. Sometimes even senators are rude to one another, and I want to know, how are you going to create a climate that is both open to people coming to request money and also open toward each other as senators, to create basically a beneficial climate for Senate?
It's a really good question. I will be a very proactive vice president of legislation. I tackle everything I do head on, and I put all my efforts into it. Availability of bills has been one of my biggest pet peeves this semester, and sometimes they're available and sometimes they're not. I think we need to, as senators, we need to be able to read the bills before they're ever voted on. It's just something we see in real politics, or people are bashed for not reading the bill before it's actually voted on. Secondly, to help with that decorum, I would want to do more, I guess, what I would call a Senate retreat kind of, where we could build a personal relationship with one another, because we just come and we meet in Senate on Mondays, and then the 5 people on a committee will meet on another day of the week, and that's it. I want to be able to build more relationships there, and another goal of mine will be to meet individually with each senator off and on throughout the semester to ensure that they understand their role as a senator and how they can do better to represent the student body.
Can you just repeat your question that way? I make sure, because it was 2 parts to it. I just want to make sure I have 2 or 3 parts to it.
Basically, how are you going to make a good climate for both students coming and get their bills actually read by students in a, I guess, a good way, a respectable way. Thank you. As well as creating a respectable climate between senators.
One of the things that I want to do is, it was actually started in place now, that the help with student senators actually going back and forth, is a lot of things now when senators are learning more about parliamentary law, that they actually are not really addressing each other, they're always constantly addressing the chair, and it's one of the things that we're trying to move towards right now. 2, better training programs, that way we make sure that we actually have a Senate training, that way senators are trained very well. Regarding looking at bills, and also the transparency for bills to Senate has been very poor this year and past years that I've been in student government. I'm the chair of the Legislative Affairs Committee, and I've been in student government for almost 4 years now. And when we mail the bills off, all the information regarding the bill needs to be available, made to the senator before they come to the meeting, as opposed at the meeting they are rushed through to look at it and want a decision to be made. Another thing is weekly meetings, because anytime you work with a team, it's best that you're seeing them on a consistent basis, just to check up, not necessarily as how things going with Senate, how classes going, how things going in your life, because that helps.
To answer your question, basically this year I've tried, in the few short weeks, months that I've been in vice president, I've tried to create a atmosphere that senators can try to access as much as possible. It's hard to move away and take a 360 with a Senate that has been with a former vice president. And I don't want to dog the former vice president, but taking over, I've had to be basically in his mindset. In Senate, when it comes down to those, I've tried to take a very good approach on trying to make sure everyone's equal, and I'm not afraid to use my gavel. It's kind of a tool, and you can control a lot with it. But I want to basically provide everybody that opportunity to have an equal say in everything. For the students, when you come to Senate, you actually receive a little card that's usually on your seat if there's Ways and Means request or travel request, and that basically gives an outline of how a Senate meeting is ran. And with that, it shows the students that, hey, these are a few simple guidelines to use when you're coming to a Senate